Bring it on. The first heat of the day is underway in the elimination round. Caio, Ibelli, the Brazilian star who's sitting in 7th spot on the rankings at the moment, up against Jacob Willcox. We've seen so much of him in CT events, getting a number of call-ups as a wild card to compete, and he'll be on the Challenger Series. He had a good run on the CS last season. A real edge, I think, with the amount of time he's spent in this tricky lineup, but it's going to be Jack Thomas, who's from a little further north at a little place called Yallingup, which you would have heard mentioned in CT events for a number of years. That's where Taj Burrow is from. And we'll see if Jack can finish this one off to kick off his day. And he does nicely. Big kid. And we saw him compete here last year. He did bow out in this elimination round last season as a wild.
Got a little deeper on some of these turns. Backside flick, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of hustle and bustle just before he took off on that wave, and he was lucky to get it, actually, because he was widest on the peak. But, yeah, stringing together 3 nice manoeuvres on his backhand, and he gets the finish.
Bit of hustle here at the takeoff point to get into position for this one.
Wow.
And it's Caio Ibelli who kind of withdraws from the contest and allows Jacob Willcox into this one, drawing off the bottom. Nice hook out of the top. High impact turn to get started. Gets a little late to that second move.
Behind out the back, we saw Jacob as well. This first turn I really liked. The wave sort of run off in front of him. You can see he kind of get hung up there in the face and couldn't get around to that third section. So, look, probably not a massive score for Jacob, but this first turn here, I did really like the look of this one.
Yeah,
so he
great.
Timing. Great timing.
He's a world-class talent, and he's been so close to qualifying before. We often have seen him at this level, Rich. He's quarter-finaled before down at Bells Beach. Hasn't, I think, turned in. Won't be expecting a monster score for that. And Caio Ibelli's going to have an opportunity to win this opening exchange. Transitions through that first hit, out onto the open face, grinds through the carve, and loads up for a couple of hits on the inside here. Very sure-footed here, and it's cold. It's early in the morning. He's done well to stay on his feet.
Jeez, he's just so solid, isn't he? Still going all the way through to the inside. And, yeah, Caio, well, this is, mate, he just does not go away. He's one of those surfers that you know is going to be on the best waves. He's going to perform on them. He very rarely falls off. You hardly ever see him make a mistake, and he's just opened with an absolute perler.
But Caio's sort of veteran status has seen him put up a pretty decent first ride here against these wildcards.
Absolutely. He's really put this wave together well. Timing again was sensational. Caio up into the lip here, and just keeping the board pointing down the line. Didn't overextend on that one. And this is a beautiful wrap here. You can see that hillside rail just brings it all the way round, compresses the body, resets the board up and over this section here. Fantastic stuff.
How tough is it being that first heat of the morning, Rich, sometimes, especially when you have an early start?
It's probably 25 to 30 knots offshore wind at the moment, so that is going to play into it. But, you know, first heat of the morning, they call it the guinea pig heat, and a live action here. This is Jacob.
Jacob just working one off the top there to get started. A lot of patience off the bottom, gets the timing right on that hit, just kind of falls out of the sky. Almost engineered that weightlessness then.
Yeah, it looks like maybe on a slightly longer board than he was yesterday. You'd have to think that a lot of the competitors are perhaps going to go for, you know, an extra inch or two.
Yeah, he does. I mean, we'll get back to that in a second, but here's this replay of this last wave. I mean, nice carve off the top there, and he's just setting up this end section, and yeah, like you said, just manufacturing sort of that airdrop. But yeah, he does an amazing job, and he keeps super busy in his time off when he's not competing on the Challenger Series. I mean, if you go online, you'll see some of his most amazing clips from up north, spent at Nalu. It's just incredible.
Yeah, he just seems to have a really good handle on what's required to be the modern day professional surfing athlete. Jack Thomas started off beautifully with a 5.83. Talking to Taj Burrow, he said Jack's got a deadly backhand. Said he just has struggled, in Taj's opinion, with confidence sometimes, and it really affects his performance. he certainly started the day off well. So it was Caio Ibelli winning the opening exchange, and he's up again here. Big section, big hit, and it'll be a solid backup number for the Brazilian.
Yeah, another good wave for Caio. Opening strong, put his time in on the East Coast on the smaller waves because he knew he had to really perfect that type of performance in order to qualify for the Championship Tour. So we see the replay here, huge finishing turn for Caio, but yeah, he's really setting everything up with these bottom turns, leaning right into it, and obviously just dropping out of the sky here. A little bit of hang time in the lip, gets to the finish, and just so important to come down.
Especially when you're just chasing a mid-range 5-ridge.
Yeah, it's weird because you can start going, oh, I'm just going to surf to a 5 rather than go, I'm going to surf this wave to its entirety, which could be an 8. But he got a couple of good backhand hooks done and then comes through this section here and just unfortunately trips up.
And it just takes a certain type of mindset.
Here we go, live action now. Jacob Willcox trying to dump a 4.67. If he can get a 6.08 out of this one, he'll take himself to the lead. It's a decent start, putting a bit of distance between himself and that converging section. But it tricks him up and he can't ride out. So just on 21 minutes to go here as we go to some replays now. This was Jacob's last ride. Still waiting on the score to come through for this, but you can see the class in his act.
Yeah, just jamming on these backhand turns. Unfortunately, geez, he did well to just really put the gas on. Maybe he just put it on a little bit too much. He just got absolutely crushed on that final section. Such a difficult section of this wave to navigate, isn't it, Flick? It's just, you've got this wall of white water coming at you, severe direction change.
Yeah, and you can have the right idea and you get out in the face, and I'm going to try and approach it earlier, but it just didn't work in his favour, and sometimes that just happens, and it is such a hard section to negotiate. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of hustle and bustle out the back here, but it looks like Caio is taking off.
Yeah, got the priority, and it's an easy decision for him to use it on this big clean wall. The waves are a little flat to kick off, so he can save it with a big move on the inside. Goes to that layback jam, swings that tail, holding on, using that core strength. But he is going to run into some speed humps here on the inside. 15 and a half minutes to go. Something standing up on the outside here. And sitting at the apex of the peak is Jack Thomas. He's after a 6.74 now to get himself up in a second place. Let's see if we can get a big section. This wave's actually going to break away, and he doesn't like what's happening on the inside there. Jacob Willcox has taken control of this heat. Couple of mid-range 6s. And he's gliding into one now. Fades a little off the takeoff to set up that first turn. Nice extension as he drives harder through the second move and up into the pocket again. Bit of foam on the face. And it's no problem for the local, who's just going to tap off the foam to finish this one off. That's a solid ride, very complete start to finish, and it should be another decent score here.
But this is the style of surfing that this kid brings, you know what I mean? It's just solid. It's got all this power. There's none of that little jittery stuff that you sort of get from younger, less experienced surfers. It's CT level surfing in my mind, and a real mature way that he put this wave together.
Well, welcome back to the show. Well, during the break, Caio Ibelli tapped into this one. Big hook off the top, little lumpy on that opening section. Trying to make up for it with that second move, falling out of the sky. And he does get the finish. But Caio Ibelli just struggling to really set his rail on these first sections at the moment. And that's left the door open for this young man, Jack Thomas from Yallinga. And he's going to get slammed.
Wow.
Just too late there, wasn't he?
Wow.
Up and under, and well,
trying to get the judges excited as we see Caio tapping in, finding a barrel. High line exit there, and finally sets a deep rail turn. Grabs on that rail as well, and mixing it up nicely now with a more vertical approach to the lip. And just finishing this one off beautifully on the inside.
With a little longer equipment to deal with this stiff offshore breeze that we have out here, the swell is turned more the westerly direction. So that's why it's kind of a perfect peak. Right now, Caio Ibelli under priority. He's going to take off on this one. I'm going to let you call it, Rom. Oh, he just threw it away. I was going to talk about the swell, more of a westerly direction to keep the board sitting in the water. We got more action, Ron.
Yeah, it's going to be Jacob Willcox swinging on this one. And he wants to better a 6.5. Drives up through the pocket. Nice little snap under the lip there to get started. And there is a nice steep section to dig into. A carving backside hit. And just loses the finish. And he was on his way to a really good score. And he really does want to turn in a strong finish at this venue. This second turn was awesome.
Yeah, this is where the money's at. I mean, so beautiful to watch, and that technique is just amazing. It's so unfortunate that he came unstuck here at the end. I mean, we're just getting a replay now of what happened. I mean, he goes to lip line it, but this isn't the first time, too, that he's fell off on this last turn. I think he'd be feeling pretty like, you know, maybe a little bit angry at himself, but kicking him.
It's going to be interesting. I thought, you know, the first turn was a pretty good save on a tricky section under the lip there. It just is going to all hedge on how much credit they give him for that second move. Could be his best ride, though. Wouldn't be surprised if it went a little better than the 6.5.
Yeah, could do. It's right there, and you could almost see him trying to wash speed off for that third one. And, well, here goes Jack up and riding.
Nice start, just transitioning out of that first move, driving up into the pocket. Nice little backhand float there, but not as big a set wave, and a tricky one to try and turn a 717 in on. And this one's going to come to a close, and it feels like Jack is going to fall short of the requirement. Caio Ibelli up at the moment. So it tucks into the barrel, finds some nice cover. Couple of visions for Caio out there this morning, but you know, I think he's going to really have a think probably about his equipment, Rich. Oh, the hometown crowd, they'll be bummed with one result, losing one here in the elimination round, but Jacob Willcox showing real positive signs as he marches through to the round of 30.